Not unlike most boys, when I was growing up, I was interested in insects. They are unique creatures. God created all we see and all we don't see. And the very nature of the life cycle of some types of insects speak volumes about life being created perfect with no need for the lie of evolution. God's creation always glorifies the Creator. A good example of one of the really unique insect forms is called a bagworm. No possible evolutionary process could account for their unique, seemingly strange life cycle. Well, let's take a better look at them. What we know of bagworms shows that they are actually the larval form of a moth. The larvae spin a silken bag that is often covered with twigs, pine needles, leaves, and other odds and ends that are handy. These baby bagworms feed on leaves, flowers, and stems, or bark of many kinds of plants. And they eventually pupate, or change, in the silk sac they spun. Now the male emerges from the bags a quite dull color. They have wings and pretty much look like other moths. But the female, however, has the most unusual life indeed. She has neither wings nor legs, and she never comes out of the bag. Male bagworms search for a bag that contains a female. They mate, and the female lays her eggs inside of the bag where she never leaves. Now I ask you, what possible process and in-between steps could possibly account for this unique bug? The only thing that makes any sense is that the bagworms were created complete, just how our Heavenly Father intended. The insect we call the ambush bug is another with a most unusual lifestyle. These bugs have heavy-duty bodies, and they sit in wait to ambush food that comes to them. The ambush bug is usually greenish-yellow in color. They blend in well with flowers and weeds such as the goldenrods, where they lay in wait for their fresh insect meal. They feed mostly on bees and flies that visit flowers for nectar, and when a bee or fly comes close enough, they grab the victim with their powerful front legs, pierce its body with their sharp beak, and are found mostly, with their sharp beaks, and they draw out all of its body fluids. There are around 15 species which are found mostly in temperate North America, and more than 150 species in the tropics of the Americas and Asia. Think for a moment. If these were not created perfect just as they were, they would have died and starved out long before they reached the stage that they're at now. Now let's look at a couple more specimens from the enormous insect world. Have you ever seen and watched the tactics of an antlion? Sometimes they're called doodlebugs. These were provided with a truly unique way of trapping their food, and they are usually found in dry, sandy places. Most antlions dig funnels that are funnel-shaped pits in which they trap other insects that tumble into their domain. They slide down to the bottom where is hidden in the sand an antlion at the bottom. The antlion grabs its victim with its long, sickle-shaped mandibles. Naturally, the trapped insect, usually an ant, will try to escape by climbing up the sides of the pit. However, the loose sandy side crumbles beneath it, or the antlion actually throws sand up by snapping its head. Usually that action will knock the prey back to the bottom of the pit, where the antlion can feast. Like an insect vampire, the antlion sucks the juices from its catch, then disposes of the corpse by flipping it out of the pit. Now, these critters have voracious appetites also. They are larvae, not full-grown at this stage. They will actually become a graceful insect that very strongly resembles a dragonfly when they are adults. Females lay their eggs in the sand, and as soon as they hatch, the young larvae know to dig their pits. As they grow, the antlion increases in the size of its pit. These stationary hunters are found in dry, protected locations, such as beneath buildings or under overhanging ledges. Rain destroys their pits, and moist dirt packs too tightly. There are more than 600 species of antlions, and most live in the tropics and subtropics. Some kinds don't build pits at all, but lie in wait for ants or other bugs beneath rocks or wood. I used to work at a factory here in northeast Lower Michigan, and outside the building were huge areas of sandy blowouts. They looked like a miniature miniature moonscape, as thousands of pits, looking like meteor craters, covered them extensively. Again, I couldn't think I can't think of a process that would account for the evolution of the antlion. It would have surely starved and died out before reaching its present state. Let's look at one more insect that shows evolution to be quite impossible when you think about it. The last insect we'll look at is the assassin bug. Sounds very menacing, doesn't it? Like the antlion, the assassin bug lives on the juices of other insects. In rare cases, they will actually attack man and other mammals. Are you ready for this? There are over 2,000 species, and most live in tropical areas. The assassin bug has a long, slim head and comes to a point at the front, and they then becomes narrow again just behind their eyes. Their beak, usually short and curved, rests in a groove made beneath their head. Most are a dull color, but a few are very brightly colored. Some live on flowers where they catch bees and other insects that come for nectar. Other types hide beneath rocks, logs, and other objects found on the ground. One particularly unusual species of assassin bug is called the wheel bug. It has a curious crust on its thorax that is shaped like half of a cogwheel. Another well-known type is called the kissing bug, or blood-sucking cone nose. They on occasion invade houses and can give very painful bites. Some even carry diseases. The masked bedbug hunter is another one, called that because it collects lint and debris on its head and has a reputation for eating bedbugs. Yes, God created the insect world with amazing diversity. Evolutionists literally believe that billions of years ago it rained on rocks that made up primitive Earth and somehow magically formed the first life. And from that alleged living goo sprang all the living things we know today: fish, birds, trees, insects, man, and everything. Doesn't that sound stupid? I mean, really stupid? Especially when you consider how complicated DNA is, and all of us have different DNA. When a person takes off the blinders and admits God created everything, well, that person cannot help but being struck with incredible awe. Thanks for listening. God bless.